All right, the Padres win game one of this series against the Tigers. Joe Musgrove, for me, was the story of this. Yeah, Luis Rise, great game from him, but Joe being in dominant form, here in September, throughout September, hopefully going into the postseason, that's such an encouraging sign. That would be so huge for this Padres team. He has that new slider sweeper pitch that he's been working on. That's looking good. And he was talking about on his interview after a start during the game with Don and Mudd about how he's still trying to figure out how he's going to go about throwing that pitch. And it seems like he's starting to get more comfortable with that pitch. And it was working today. Got strikeouts with it. His final line, he ends up getting through six. He was a little bit frustrated that he wasn't able to get to 7 innings because he did put himself in a little bit of a spot that, you're at 94 pitches. It's not 100, but when you have 7, 8, 9, you have relievers available. Schultz probably going to go with the fresh arm instead of Musgrove. But if it was more, you take away some of the walks and he was at, 85 pitches, let's say, then maybe Musgrove goes out there for a seventh inning. But that's what I love about Joe and guys like that have that mentality. A regular fan will sit here and say, yeah, Joe pitched great, 6 shutout innings. He's been pitching great for the most part since coming back from the IL. Most people would just be like, yeah, that's great. But those elite athletes, they'll have an outing like that, but there's always something that I don't want to say they're pissed about, but there's always something that they're like, I need to fix that. I can improve on that. And Joe is going to look to do that going into his next outing here and the rest of the year. But he got 8 punch outs tonight, and punch outs were big by this Padres team here. Not just Musgrove, but with Tanner Scott there in that 8th inning, he got his 7th hold on the year. He has a 1.48 ERA. Jason Adam, by the way, he was able to get a hold as well there after Musgrove. But Tanner Scott allowed that runner, and there's a runner on second, but then he got a couple of strikeouts there with 1 out in that inning to get out of it. And so that set it up, obviously, for Robert Suarez. And Suarez, he goes in, gets his 31st save of the year, back-to-back days for him with a save. And now the Padres, they have a day off, which is their first day off in a little bit, more than a couple of weeks. It's been 18 games in 18 days. There was tough weather in St. Louis. It's just been a little bit of a tough stretch. But they had good news today with the return of Fernando, and I'll get to Darvish here in a second. It's a well-deserved day. Profar didn't play. Crony didn't play, so I love that they get to get 2 days off in a row now. It's big, Crony, he's someone, and Profar as well, like they love the game of baseball. They probably want to be out there, but I think they probably know what's best long term. And that's obviously the biggest thing. The Padres, by the way, today, they now have the first wild card spot because the Dodgers were able to beat the D-backs in that 4-game set, that wraparound set series. So it's there. And hosting the wild card series against the D-backs, that would be electric. What an environment that would be. Um, so yeah, the Tatis. So Tatis returning. It wasn't like this amazing return. Usually there's like a home run in there or there's this signature play. There wasn't that. Late in the game, I think his last at bat, he moved runners over to second and third on the grounder. But yeah, it wasn't very noteworthy. It was just the beginning, him running out to right field. I literally got the chills sitting there watching that. Um, Maybe some fans are like, Ben, what the heck? Really? But I've missed watching Fernando play, and I love seeing him, acknowledge the fans when he runs out there to right field. It's just different when Fernando is on the field. He's not 100%, as I talked about on pregame, but Fernando at 80%, Fernando at whatever he's at, he still can do stuff that other guys can't do. And him being back, it allows Profar to have the day off, and David Peralta can shift to left field. It allows for David Peralta to be a bat off the bench in a situation if they want a lefty up there, instead of having Peralta be playing every day out there in right field. Um, I didn't really notice like Tatis. Oh, he wasn't moving good. No, I thought it was fine. I don't think that you're going to see him busting out of the box. He's probably going to take the Manny approach, where if he doesn't have to sprint on grounders, he's probably not going to, which I totally understand because you want to be healthy for the postseason. But yeah, it was good to see Fernando back on the field today. And then there was the update also before the game about Darvish. Kevin AC writes, big week for the Padres. Yu Darvish throwing a bullpen session today is just the latest indication of something the Padres have not yet confirmed, but that seems obvious. He is expected to start for them Wednesday, which I believe was Randy Vasquez's spot. I think in the rotation, or maybe it was the days off that allows them to put Darvish in there. But I mean, yeah, it's encouraging. I'm not surprised by this news, by the way, because he was already at 66 pitches, what, 4 innings back in Peoria, where he threw in that simulated game situation there. And so he's getting his work in. The pitch count is going up every outing. And with Joe, I know there's not as much time left in the year as when Joe came back initially, but both, if Darvish does come back, it's going to be a ramp up process. And so Darvish can just do that. And there's other guys with expanded rosters. You add that extra reliever. You have Hoeing in there. You have other guys that can give multiple innings. Adrian Marhone. They could call Sean Reynolds up if they wanted to. There's Cosgrove. There's Wandy. So there's other guys that are there that can cover those innings if needed. If Darvish can only get 4+ innings in on, let's say, Wednesday, if he starts there. So I don't think it's the end of the world if Darvish starts here and can't go super long. I think it's good to have him come back. Don't waste bullets in a minor league rehab game. Come back and just get as many starts as he can under his belt going into the postseason. And it's evaluation for the Padres as well. Like, okay, what can Darvish give us? Where might he slot into the rotation come postseason time? And yeah, it's good. It's a good time to be a Padres fans for sure. To be in that organization, I assume it would be an awesome time right now with the way this team is playing. After today's win, by the way, as you see here, 79-61. So they're in a really good spot, first place, at least in terms of wild card in the wild card standings, and they're getting guys back. It's not 2021, where they were in a really good spot, but keyword they were in a really good spot. And then there were a bunch of injuries. And then it was Jake Arrieta and Ross Detweiler and Pedro Avila starting games there late in the year. This year, they were already in a good spot when Fernando's not playing. And then you have Fernando coming back, and you have Darvish coming back, and they had Musgrove come back. The reinforcements with the bullpen, in the bullpen, excuse me, Perez too with the rotation. Before the trade deadline. Like, it's just different. It feels different, obviously, than not just last year, but other years past. We can compare it to 2022 because I did feel pretty good in that year as well. But and this might be recency bias, but I don't think I felt as good in 2022 about the team, their chances on like September 2nd of 2022 as I do now about this team. There's just something there with this team. They're a real team, and I'm loving watching this team. That's for sure. Luis Ariz, big day from him. A couple runs driven in there. The first RBI single, ball was down and in, and Padres took advantage of it. Again, taking advantage of the other team's mistakes. Padres have done a good job at doing that this year. Tigers probably shouldn't have thrown that to first to try to get Mason McCoy, but McCoy gets to second. Ariz drives him in, and then later in the game, it was the opposite side. So it wasn't low and in, but it was up and away, and Ariz still put it in play and drove in a run. So for him, he doesn't walk a bunch, but he puts the ball in play, bat to ball. If it's close, he swings. And I think part of it for him is, hey, it might not be the best pitch, but I don't know what other pitchers are coming later in this at bat. I might get some nasty breaking balls that I might not be able to put in play as good as this pitch here, you know? Um, so I don't think it's that he doesn't have an approach. Like this dude's it's Luis Ariz. I think he has an approach. I think it's just it's a refreshing approach. It's something different where some guys may be looking for a pitch in that location, and if it doesn't go there with less than two strikes, they're not going to swing. But Arise, I feel like his approach is okay, I'm trying to, depending on the situation, I'm trying to hit it up the middle, or I see a gap here in the shortstop third base hole. All right, let's try to go there. If it's a ball, on the inside part of the plate, okay, then he can slap it down the line, right? But that's I guess how I would kind of describe Arise's approach. But he's going to be another big piece in the postseason. If if he's leading off, that's going to set the table up pretty darn good. And if there's guys at the bottom of the order that get on base, then we could see Arise come up clutch with some of these hits like he did today in some big moments in the postseason. So this lineup, if you include Cronenworth and Profar, so Arise, Tatis, Cronenworth, did I say he didn't play? He had an at bat today. Sorry. But Arias, Tatis, Cronenworth, Manny, Bogarts, Merrill, Profar probably hitting third, I would think. Um, and then you go into someone like Higgy, who has shown that he can hit some homers. He can have some. He can do something there offensively. Elias Diaz, we'll see what his role is going to be. This offense, man, it's not one that I don't think many pitchers would want to be facing this lineup. Just teams in general. I don't think you're going to want to face the Padres going into the postseason. You're probably, if you had your pick, if they let you pick what team to face, the Padres probably aren't going to be at the top of that list in the National League.